Hi, I'm Ronnie Santmeyer. Today, I just wanted to pop on real quick and show the new SSL360 software that everybody on YouTube is talking about, I'm sure, in the music studio world. Those guys with bigger channels have had it for months now and got to play with it. It just came out today, March 7th, 2024. So I loaded it on and decided to play with it a little bit. It's cool, it's a free update. It's called SSL360Link. It allows you to use your UC1 controller to control third-party plugins like Waves, UAD, SSLs, Brainworks, any other plugin. I map it to a couple other things in the box real quick and then show how it lays out in the 360 software. I actually don't use the 360 software that much, but this link feature was going to make this UC1 so awesome. I like that everything maps out. I feel like it's faster controls than the SoftTube console one that I used to have. I have not used the newest console one, so maybe that it got its latency feeling down with the knobs. The UC1, I feel like it really feels like hardware to me when you're turning the knobs. I've seen other people kind of bitch about this, and I'll agree. They didn't map the compressor section, which is, you know, dedicated to their bus compressor, which works great. I wish they would have allowed that to be mapped, and hopefully in the future they will, because something like the API 2500, it's got a lot of, you know, controls on it, and that would have been nice to just map. Plus, I think even simple, like you'll see I mapped the LA2As and the LA3As to the channel strip compressor, and it works fine. But I think it would be neat if that bus compressor that's built onto the UC1 was meant to map to compressors, because then stuff like an LA2A or LA3 that actually physically has a VU meter, you could then use that VU meter on the console, just on the UC1, just like you do their bus compressor. So hopefully that becomes an update, because right now it's just kind of dead space. So that's the only downside to this 360 so far. The other thing I'm glad they did was you can use multiple 360s on the same channel. I was worried that when the hardware is talking to a particular plugin, that it wouldn't allow you to stack another plugin, because we all stack plugins, you know, on a source, whether it's a vocal or bass guitar or something. So I was worried you weren't going to be able to manipulate each one, but you can. I did run into a problem with the one plugin. You'll see the Pulsar 1178. When you put the plugin in link mode, because there's 2 ins and 2 outs, you know, it's a stereo unit. Most plugins, when you put in link mode and you turn a knob, the other knob follows. And it does do that as long as you use a mouse on the screen. When I went to assign it, even in the assigned list, it shows input A and input B, output A, output B. If I'm using it in stereo, I kind of generally turn the inputs and outputs up the same. I kind of like to dial things in evenly, and if I feel like there's an offset, I'll unlink it at that moment and then take the mouse and make the adjustment. But that's one of the other downsides so far. Other than that, it seems like an awesome free update to let you use that controller across a ton of plugins. So check it out and tell me what you think. All right, so popping in Reaper here. Hopefully this is lined up with the camera okay. And I got a couple of the 360s already, but let's start with a new one just to show you. So as you know, you can pop open a 4K from SSL, and you can control their plugins from this, and I've always liked this, actually, over the SoftTube, for me at least. I don't know about the new SoftTube version. I had an older one, console one, but the response of these knobs feel so fast and good. I mean, it doesn't feel like there's a latency to it at all. But now the new thing is they came out with today, which is March 7th, 2024, is this 360 Link. Now, they've always had the 360 plugin, which I don't use very often, and I'll pop that open in a second. But the 360 Link, as you see, it's defaulted to just having volume control. Signal passes through here, but you can put third-party plugins in it now. Now, if you own a bunch of these, which I already own, they come with, like for instance, here's some presetted templates they already have. That looks like one of their channels. But it's really, if you click this little icon right here, it's the 4000 from Brainworks. And now I can control that, as you see. And the compressors, turn it plug-in on and off, pop the EQ in and out. Is that, nah, it's just disabling this plugin. Yeah, the compressor is enabled, disabled. The types, you can see I'm changing the types here. You can also go to, say, their 9,000. That's just warning you that you're making changes. Again, you don't have to have this open. I'm just doing it to show you that it's a different plugin. And they have ones for the waves right here. And they did one for, you know, kind of all the SSL stuff. Each, yeah. And here's the UAD version. Call it open. Their layout's opposite. The EQ is on the opposite side. And then I did a couple other ones myself. Like this one's got, this is from Brainworks as well. The AMAC 9098. They call them the 99, but it's a 9098. This has a lot of features on it. I had a hardware 9098 EQ back in the day. And it's nice to be able to disable these bands when you want to, but there's just not enough buttons on here. So it's not that big of a deal. I already assigned it like the main basics. Gain control, here's the peak, whether it's shelf or peak. If I want to put this sheen on, I would just manually click on it. It's something I don't reach for a lot. I don't really use this plugin a lot. I like it on snare drum on certain, you know, when I'm not getting what I want out of the SSL. I have so many different SSLs that I'll pull this guy up, and sometimes it really helps. I actually like this on some acoustic guitars too, just subtle. I like what it does, but it's not a main, you know, channel strip I grab. So there's a lot, like I got ratio, I got threshold over here and release. I already did an LA2A and stuff before, so I came back and kind of touched it up a little bit. It's very easy to get like muscle memory with this. I'm trying to remind myself to set things up so it's the same every time. So like in other words, I always have mix knob here. The LA2A stuff has this high emphasis knob here. I'm putting that on the gates range knob. And I'm just kind of repeating the same thing over and over. So when I go to multiple LA2As, or if I call up a different one, everything's kind of in the same spot. I'm hoping that they update it where this is usable. Right now, this compressor only works their compressor. They should have made these assignable for when you're doing like the API 2500 or some other just compressor. You get more knobs here than you do over here. And it would have been nice to be able to assign these. Or when you got a big channel like that 9098 I just showed, these knobs could have been other features, but they don't function right now. So I assigned on the LA2A, this ratio is gain, peak reduction is my threshold, my release, I didn't do anything with it. The in and out works, so it turns it off and on. The range, like I said, is this high frequency here. In threshold, I made the mix knob on all the LA2As. And I think I made, yeah, I made the attack button actually a limiter and compressor setting over there. Being consistent like that, if I pop open another one, let's say we'll go to the silver, it's going to be the exact same controls, so it's easier to remember. Gain, peak reduction, the high frequency control, the mix knob, and then the peak is doing the limit, and then again on and off. And I did the same for, there's a little bit different settings, but I kind of did the same for the LA3A. It's gain, peak reduction, high frequency, the mix knob's the same spot, and gain limit, same button. That way it's easy to remember settings. So then after I did that, I decided I might as well do my 1176s, you know, things that I'm reaching for a lot. This one I laid out a little bit differently. So I did, these are, if you can see, you toggle slowly, 4 to 8, 4 to 1 I mean. 8 to 1, 12 to 1, 20. Then it starts doing combinations of the buttons all the way to you get all buttons in mode right there. This is ratio, or I mean, the threshold here is actually attack. Release is a release. if you notice a little slash, all these 1176s right here, this little slash, they all pop out for a like sidechain effect. So I did the sidechain down here, and if you notice that knob pops out. And then I did my headroom here, just like on that other compressor, the 176, and I did the mix knob here, same spot. But I decided to do the input and outputs here, so I can have two hands on it, kind of like you might grab a real 1176 when you want to push and pull down the volume at the same time. So I did the exact same layout. The only thing I kind of wish that they did is, once I got that compressor laid out and I opened another 1176, I kind of wish that they would let me do the same layout. So here's the input and output again, the headroom, the mix knob, the attack and release, and the ratios. It's all the same. And then I went on to do something like, this was going to be cool, I thought, because you can switch the types. But I had a feeling, and I was right. Once you assign these knobs, like right here, as you can see, I'm controlling the gain and frequency. This changes the shelf and peak here. Same with the low down here. I can control it. It's still, you know, this is going to be awesome. You can pop the EQ in and out, but when you change types, these data controls are knowing to talk to the other layer here. It does not talk to this layer, so you can't control this. So if I decided to open this plugin up, I'd probably have to do these manually. That's the only downside of that. Compressor setting, you see I got it all mapped out. Not everything maps to this because there's more switches. I did fast and slow, or fast and medium. And there's actually a slow setting in there. I don't use this compressor a ton. I do use it, I shouldn't say that. I use it a little bit, but I tend to use it on fast and medium. But, you know, just to grab it and manipulate a little bit is nice. And I think I have, I did the expand, yeah, right here, gate setting, and the attack same. Did I do the filters? Yeah. But I didn't have a switch to turn the filters on and off. And then the side chain is, yeah, side chaining, the dynamics link side chaining here, whether that's on or off. I guess I'm just gonna have to click on the filter when I want to use it by clicking here. I don't really have another option. You know what I could do? Since I could make this the switch, because if this is flipping to here, it doesn't do me any good if I can't control that, right? So let's make that change real quick so I can show you this, which is nice. So if you pop open this gear right here, you get this whole control here. And for instance, I'm gonna get rid of this type so you can hear, if I clear all, that clears everything. You don't wanna do that. I just wanna clear that link right there. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. It's kind of neat. I can click on this, and then I can click on, let's see, or actually I can do it this way. I can click this button here in the software and then click the controller here, and it knows to assign that quick. Let me turn that off. So the other option you can do is, besides just touching it, like if you didn't have the UC1 and you were somewhere with your computer and you just kind of wanted to go through your catalog of plugins and do, you know, assign everything, you can just do it by dragging too. So I can either just type here, because I already selected that, it popped over there, and clear that again, or you can actually just grab it and drag it over to here like that, let it go. So that's on and off for that now. And you don't have to save anything. It always remembers what you're doing. The other thing I did was, because there's enough knobs, this 560 I do use a lot. I like the way it sounds. It's actually got a little more weight to its sound than the 560 it's in the Vision. So I already assigned all this, but I just start at the top and work down. So you can see there's sliders. Every slider has a control. And then I did in and out, and then I think I used this gain knob, which is actually an input, but since it was right here next to the EQ, it made it nice to control that. There's so many more plugins I have to go through. I even did like and they're not all UAD. I'm showing a lot of UAD stuff right now, but like for instance, this one is limited in some of its features. So when I first had this set up, this type to switch mic and gain line, and I thought that's going to be dangerous because if you hit it by accident, you're going to blast into the mic presetting, like, you know, clicking over here, and I don't want to do that. So what we have here is gain, frequency, and even though that's a switch, I still just put it on the pot. So if I switch it, it's just changing this button in and out. I skipped this set of knobs, went down to here, got gain and frequency. And then if you notice, the EQ gets popped in and out. Over here, there's a phase button, so that does the phase here. And for the filters, we're back up here. The range of these filters are not as wide as the SSL, so the knob will spin a little bit differently. I erased this one. Let's just do it this way real quick and see if I can get the same layout that I had before. So if I touch that button and then touch this, it's putting plug in and out. We'll start at the lows because this is subs. Touch these. And I think I skipped that one. Let's go to this one. Or actually, no. Yeah, see, I'm messing myself up now. Back that up, clear that. Let's do here. And then gain, and this is kind of frequencies. And then I did the trim knob with this. So the input gain on this is actually the trim knob you can see right there. This doesn't have a mix knob. And it's really gonna be fun to mix with these things. The other thing I wanted to show you, for instance, let's say this is a bass channel. And we wanted to just, let's say we just wanted to use their 4000E, which is obviously going to be mapped perfectly because it's meant for that plugin. That's why it opens like this. Let's just say we go with that bass. So that bass sound is dialed in, okay? But you wanted some other low end from the 560 API. So you can now go to this 360. I can go to my favorites, I can add the API. And the cool thing is it's on the same channel. Now I've seen people kind of bitching about they don't like when you use the 360 software that I'll show in a second is now going to create two channels. That doesn't bother me. I would be more upset if you were limited to using this 360Link, like one per channel, because then it wouldn't be useful to me. Because we know we stack lots of plugins and I want to be able to control all the plugins with this thing. You can see there's a 560. Let's say we bumped up the low end or something. With mids, let's say we were doing something like this on the bass, whatever. Add a little more gain. Now, if I open up the 360, which is this button here, says 360, there's also one up here, and they put it on everything. And on their own software, it's the same spot. So if I hit that 360 button, it looks like this. Now, all the things you see without dynamics right here are those 360 channels, which are over here. And we have some 550 EQs on them. Hit the 360 again. And then the channels with all the dynamics here, like these, are their own 4000. You can see it says SSL 4000. This is the 4000 we just did on bass. Now, if you notice, it's got two basses because this is the one with that 4000 on it. And this one here is that 360Link, but we're using the 560 API EQ on it. So if I clicked on this and I wanted to back down that top end, it was a little too bright on the bass, I can do that. But then if I click over here, I can go, oh, let me adjust that 560, and you can see. And the cool thing is, even though it says gain, frequency, and Q, and sometimes you may not remember what that was on the new play. After a while, I think muscle memory kicks in and you will remember. But you can go to this 360, if you notice, like over here it says gain, frequency, Q, it matches what this says. But over here, it's reading what that plugin is. So this is 500 Hertz, 250, 125. So you can just look at the screen and get familiar with 31 Hertz, 63. It's pretty cool. And over here, this is the 550. So I'm only doing a couple of bands here. High frequency gain, mid frequency gain, mid, and then I jump down to here, the low, because the 550 is only a 3-band, you know. And the type on this is doing the filters, I believe. So if I close out of this a second, where's it at? Yeah, I assign this to these filters. So if I click this off and on, you see it's changing those filters. And then I did up here the high frequency filter, low frequency filter. So I think it's kind of the gist of it. It's a cool free plugin for anybody who has the UC1. I don't have the fader packs, obviously. I have the Behringer X Touch is my fader. So I don't know what the update did for that, but this is a huge update for me. And a lot of people who like, you know, because having this was, I still liked having this over the soft tube, even though I could control some of my UAD plugins. It was very limited. Maybe they're doing a better job with what they're doing in the console 2 version, or Mark 2, Mark 3, whatever they're up to now. With that the new one's completely a different body, a different design. But the SSL plugins are not really cheap. And having this dedicated controller only controlling a few things was a little bit pricey still for some people, but I still loved it. But now it really makes it worth it because I can control anything. I don't think I'm gonna assign it kind of weird things like fab filter EQs and all. That's just too many bands and too many things to remember with this. I mean, you kind of could, like, you know, for fun, let me try something. I could do something like the Oxford maybe, I'm not sure. How many bands are on that thing? Yes, it's probably way more bands than, yeah, it's way more bands than what I probably have here. So I don't know that I would even use something like, I might just use this but with the mouse still. It's just, I don't want to program everything just because I can program everything. To me, that gets too confusing. I could do something simple like this. Did I just open that up like that? Yes, I didn't mean to do that. What I got to do is I got to favorite that 360 in my add to folder go-tos. That way it could be something I can access quicker, since you have to open that up first anyway. So we're gonna load, here we go. All right, so let's just do this real quick. So this is low frequencies. So let's do frequency. And this is like lower mids. I'll do it here. Gain, frequency, Q. That's easy because there's only 3 knobs. And high frequency, highs, and then there's an output gain. But you can't control this output gain because that always controls this main overall plugin here. So again, I kind of wish you could use these knobs here, but I'm going to put the gain on the input because there's not really an input gain. And auto, let's do this. Let's do the power button here. And then we're going to do auto gain here. So that's done, that's mapped that quick. While we're at it, another one I use from them a lot is 1178. I'm trying to figure out if we're using this 1178, which I use quite a bit. Yeah, since the outputs are not, I'm gonna unlink, I'm gonna do this, just so they have the same starting point. Yeah, okay, so let's link them. And if I touch them here, and I touch gain here, it's only doing 1. But I don't know, clear this link. So it's weird, it's in link mode. So where is input? How do they do this? So there's, that I don't like. There's only one. Link controls, and the controls are linked. But it looks like you can only control, there's no way to do both. That's weird. I'm gonna have to play with this later, but for now, I'm gonna put input there, which is only controlling the 1. That's weird that it wouldn't, when you put it in link, even when I'm controlling this, it wouldn't make that follow. maybe SSL will pick up on that and do something about it. Same with this. I mean, I don't know. Well, I'm just going to go ahead with, and now that means that all the attacks can be the same thing. So I'm going to do what I was doing in the other stuff, which is attack here, my release here, and so the ratios are all here, and then mix knob here, on and off. So technically I can use something over here. I've already used all that up, so let's just use like this filter knob. So if I click over here, so I can go all the different settings with this over here on this filter. I'm gonna have to come back and see how that does with this input thing in a stereo situation. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go through and do, I mean, I have, like a lot of people, I have so many plugins that I use, and then there's a lot I don't use. So I'm not gonna need to do everything, obviously. Did I do this one? I like this one a lot too. Let me see, I didn't do this one yet. I have used this on my 2-bus mix, I've used this on drum, and I don't think I assigned this yet. Can I do this one the same way as I did the LA2A, and also input would be here, output would be here, side chain button here. Let's do threshold, where threshold should go. Nope, crap. Can't erase it there. You have to actually click over here to erase the link. So if I do, I already did, no, I didn't do release, did I? Okay, so release is here. There is no ratio, is there? So, okay, so let's make the ratio attack. So that was okay. And then there's oh yeah, let's make the mix like all the other compressors. That's always here. And then let's make tone control here. So this is a tone, input, output, mix knob, release, attack, threshold, and then the side chain. Okay, well that was easy enough. All right, I think that's pretty much it. Maybe I'll do another video when I start getting into it more, since it's so new today. But that's that. So far, it seems pretty cool and pretty responsive. The only thing I got a question though is that pulsar 1178 with the 2 channels. I'm gonna see how they handle that, and I'm hoping that they do something with this bus compressor section here, because that works great with their, you know, their compressor, which is right here. You know, so if I open this up, this thing works great for a compressor, but this is what, like the API 2500 I just did, could have been using these, and then possibly using the VU meter for the API 2500 would be great. Or even the LA2A, which you only have a couple knobs for those LA2As and LA3s. It would be cool to have this and see the VU functioning, since they are units that have VUs on them. All right, so that was a quick display, probably not quick. I probably babbled and farted around with trying to figure out what I'm doing in that plugin like anybody else would. It's pretty self-explanatory. You click some things, you move some things, boom, it locks up. You don't even have to hit save. Remember, I mean, they did a good job on that. And the only thing I notice also is, for people to know, is that UAD2 plugin is different than the UADX, which makes sense because they are actually installed as 2 different plugins. So when you map the one set, you have to go and do it again for the UADX version, but big deal. Once you do it once, it's done. And then whenever you call up that thing, it's ready to go. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. And I've got way too much white light over here. So anyway, thanks for watching. Talk to you next time. Bye.